You're listening to the SmackDown RunDown on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the SmackDown RunDown here on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. Yes, it is I, the one and only Nikolai, and I'm joined once again by Jordan Garber.
How are you doing today, Nick, and how is everyone on AngryMarks.com doing tonight? I am looking forward to doing this show tonight.
As am I. I'm ready to talk about this week's episode of SmackDown. It was a good show. I enjoyed it. I think, in my opinion, it was probably better than the 15th anniversary last week. Just my opinion. But, it just seems like we are finally getting some progress into Hell in a Cell, which is next weekend, which everybody can watch on the WWE Network for only $9.99, of course.
Oh, yeah. $9.99, get the WWE Network, and not just, you can watch stars of the past, guys you can watch the Rhinos, the Kid Cash, some of these names I've interviewed before, catch them all on the WWE Network for $9.99. And, hey, think of it this way, you're a John Cena fan, you want to watch all those old matches, you got on the WWE Network, I should get it soon, but Canada's having its little issues with it.
Well, just to put this in perspective, you remember how we talked about last week's show, the 15th anniversary, how we felt it really didn't feel like that much of a celebration. You remember that discussion, right?
I do. It didn't feel like it at all.
All right. Well, I actually went on WWE Network this past week, and they put up a subfolder of 15th anniversary of SmackDown, and they had clips from segments from the past episodes. And that includes the Big Boss Man driving away with Big Show's father's coffin. They also had The Rock confronting Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow from last year. They even had another segment of The Rock talking about pie on an episode of SmackDown. They even had the supermarket brawl with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Booker T. They had moments of Edge and Christian dressing up as Fat and Fatter Elvis. I mean, these moments were a hell of a lot more memorable and made me laugh and enjoy SmackDown way more than the actual TV episode did. And that's saying something.
Oh yeah, I can agree with that. It's good that they put that on the WWE.com, all those memories, so it kind of is accountable for something. But you shouldn't do it on the website. You should show highlights. They should have had more highlights, like I said, on the TV program. They only had a few. But it's good that they had it on the website, but to have more on that show would have been good too. But at least they're trying to make it better by putting it on the website.
Yeah, it's on the website and on the WWE Network as well. So, I mean, I guess with your book, pressed for time on TV, you can't exactly get to all the good stuff. But, I mean, it really didn't feel much like a celebration, which we've already beaten the dead horse with last week. This week's episode of SmackDown was a lot more enjoyable. It had much better matches that lasted more than 30 seconds. And we even had Mr. Money in the Bank, Seth Rollins, open the show. And he didn't really progress with a storyline, so to speak, but he kind of did, in a way, because the crowd immediately chanted, "You sold out" at him, and that's where he took it. He talked about how, yes, he sold out. Honor doesn't pay the bills, and if you had any guts, you would sell out your mother, your dad, your grandparents, your brothers, your best friend, anyone and everything. And that's what he did. He sold out so he can have an opportunity to be in the main event and to solidify his future in the WWE. And I liked this promo.
I liked it too, and he also said if anyone had a chance to do what I would do in my position, they would do it. And he kind of has a point, right? Well, not always, but I'd pretty much just safe to say I really enjoyed the promo that he made, and it was very effective.
And he eventually got to Dean Ambrose and said that Ambrose doesn't belong in Hell in a Cell. He belongs in a straitjacket, which, you would expect him to say. Then he told him that he would, end up in a pile of rubble in the cell, and he would just put him out at Hell in a Cell. Then Dolph Ziggler came out as Rollins' opponent and decided to just get under his skin a little bit, saying that you have no self-respect. So, Rollins didn't take too kindly to that, and he said, does anybody really care about respect? Did respect get you anything when I curb stomped your face into oblivion on Monday? Which, that was pretty impressive in itself on Monday Night Raw. I just want to rewind time a little bit. That match from Monday Night Raw, Ziggler and Orton. Before I get to that, Jordan, I have to ask you, have you been seeing all these RKO vines lately on the internet?
Yes, I have. They are hilarious. Whoever came up with this idea is funny, because it's like, I've seen them on Twitter, I've seen them on, I think I saw the first one on Facebook, and then after that I was hooked on watching them. They're hilarious. What's your favorite one?
One of my favorites is, there's a playground set, and there's some guy trying to do a flip off a ledge, and the ledge breaks, and you just see Orton sneaking up from behind and RKOing him to the ground below. I mean, a lot of these RKO vines are just hilarious. And the fact that WWE acknowledges them and they try to come up with their own, obviously they fail at it, but, you think that with all these memes and vines going around, this new fad of RKO from out of nowhere, the fact that you would wonder if Randy Orton himself has seen these vines. And I think that question would be answered on Monday Night Raw. If you've seen that match from Raw, Randy Orton versus Dolph Ziggler, Randy Orton performed his own Vine live in front of the world. He had Dolph Ziggler up on his shoulders. It looked like he was going to powerbomb him, but instead he tosses him up in the air, drops him with an RKO from out of nowhere, and poses. Just like we see on the vines all over the place. Did you catch him doing that? Did you catch that? I
did not catch him doing that, but I can say one thing. You can know that Randy Orton is watching these vines because I was on his Twitter, and he's retweeting a few of them, a few of the notable ones who are sending it to him. So he has seen them, and then he made a tweet about the vines, about everything. And by the way, since we're speaking of Twitter, I am on Twitter, of course, at Jordan J. Garber, but pretty much the whole Randy Orton RKO Vine thing is going to go viral like it already has been, and it's hilarious. I love it. Whoever came up with this is funny.
I didn't notice it at first until I actually went back and, saw a clip of that. That RKO to Dolph Ziggler from Monday Night Raw was a living
vine.
It was a living, breathing vine. RKO from out of nowhere, and then Randy Orton stands straight up and poses. I thought that was pretty clever, and that was his little nod to acknowledging the fact that these vines exist. So, I mean, after that match, Seth Rollins was there. He just decided to give Dolph Ziggler a curb stomp for whatever reason. And that was what he was alluding to on SmackDown when he told Ziggler that, he curb stomped his face into oblivion. So, this match right here was the first match of the night. It was really good. It lasted between two commercial breaks, which is saying something. They had the first three segments of SmackDown. And this was a good match. Seth Rollins showing that he's the future of the company, getting the win over Dolph Ziggler.
Good match. I really enjoyed it.
What I gotta wonder is, why is Dolph Ziggler being a jobber right now? And I don't mean that in a negative way to Ziggler. I don't mean to be negative like that. It's just Ziggler lost to Rusev last week on SmackDown. He lost to Randy Orton on Raw, and then he loses to Seth Rollins this week on SmackDown.
And he has the title, which is ridiculous. Why are they jobbing a guy with a belt?
That's exactly my point. He's the Intercontinental Champion, for goodness sakes.
He's the Intercontinental Champion. That's probably right now in WWE the second biggest. Actually, I can't say that. It's probably the WWE title or World Heavyweight title the tag team title, and then maybe, no, it would be the Intercontinental title. No one even cares about the Divas anymore. That's what I said during an interview with LD, is that all the Divas are right now is a piece of eye candy. 90% of the Divas on WWE are just used because they're hot. That's all they are.
Just getting back to the Intercontinental title, I mean, right now, Cesaro has been complaining about not having another shot at the Intercontinental Championship, which, by the way, he gave an interview during the commercial break right after that match, and he says Ziggler's hiding from him, and all he wants is another shot at the Intercontinental Championship. So that might come at Hell in a Cell. It's just never been officially booked or announced. So it makes me wonder, like, if Ziggler's going to be losing all these non-title matches, what happens when the title's on the line?
Well, exactly, and the title's on the line. Maybe he'll just drop it. They're done. And who are they going to give it to? The Miz again? Come on.
Well, I wouldn't mind if they gave it to Cesaro. I actually want Cesaro to be Intercontinental Champion.
That would be cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Dean Ambrose came down to the ring after the match and, told Seth that, he wants Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell, wants to rip his face clean off, stick his boot where the sun doesn't shine, and all that other stuff. Kane said that he doesn't have a match at Hell in a Cell, and that makes him upset. That makes him mad. So instead of not having a match at Hell in a Cell, he decides to want to hear Dean Ambrose shriek of terror in the main event of SmackDown.
And yeah, that was a pretty good match. What did you think about it?
I thought it was good. And I thought Kane's setup for the match, just talking about how he revels in shrieks of terror, and it helps him sleep at night. Kane is just the perfect creepy guy, whether he's corporate or with the mask. And with Halloween coming up, Kane just takes everything up to another level. Kane
does take everything up to another level. It's like, it is creepy though, with this whole gimmick thing. It's hilarious, so I love it. That's the way wrestling's supposed to be. Wrestling's supposed to be fun, right?
Of course. I mean, it's entertainment, no matter how you look at it.
Oh, of course. Even if you're watching Strong Style or Pure Wrestling in Japan, it's all made for entertainment.
That's exactly right. So, you brought up the Divas, and especially the championships when we were talking about it. And AJ Lee, the Divas champion, had a non-title match against Layla, defeated her in quick fashion with the Black Widow, dispatched Alicia Fox, who ran in the ring, but Paige got in a super kick and hit the cradle DDT that she calls the Rampage. And they skip around the ring with AJ's title, showing us that AJ and Paige are not done with their feud yet.
They are not done at all, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the meantime with this feud.
It kind of saddens me that there aren't any other divas that can be viable contenders for the title, since Vince McMahon doesn't want any cast members from Total Divas to have a championship because of the taping and timing. I think it's just ridiculous. I mean, you look at the rest of the roster, besides AJ and Paige, you got Layla, Summer Rae, Alicia Fox, and Emma, and they're not even close to the title at this point.
Out of those names, I would say Emma and Alicia Fox are decent wrestlers. I saw, actually, if you want to go way back, I think I met Emma back in 2009, 2010, back when she was on the Indies. And it was kind of cool meeting her. Too bad I didn't know she was going to be in WWE later. Would have got a good interview with her.
Yeah, it would have. And Alicia Fox is a former Divas champion, but that was back in 2010. And, I think they could have put the title on her at some point in the past year or maybe earlier this year when she had a feud with Paige. But, that was the closest she's ever had to the Divas championship. And who knows if she'll ever get that chance again.
Yeah, for sure. But hey, at least Alicia Fox can say she was a Divas champion.
Exactly. It's a very good point. So, we get to the next match, and this is a continuing feud Sheamus and The Miz, they're locked in this feud right now. And in fact, this past Tuesday night on Main Event, Sheamus gave Damian Mizdow the brogue kick, but that was, Mizdow was imitating Sheamus at the time, doing a good job at it. But that night, Miz announced that he will officially challenge Sheamus for the United States Championship at Hell in a Cell. So that is now locked in stone. So on SmackDown, Sheamus teamed up with the Usos to take on The Miz along with Gold and Stardust, the current tag team champions. What did you think of this 6-man tag team match here?
I thought it was a decent, entertaining match. Pretty decent tag team match. What about you?
I thought it was standard, a really good match. The Usos always carry good matches. Sheamus is really good when he's, brawling with the best of them. Gold and Stardust, of course, held up their own. The Miz is The Miz. Take it how you want it. But this was a really exciting match. Really good 6-man tag team match. It would have done Teddy Long proud.
No, for sure it would have.
The Usos, they're continuing their feud with Gold and Stardust. I don't know if they're going to be getting a title rematch. I mean, they should, because Gold and Stardust intentionally got themselves disqualified the last time. So it looks like they're going to continue their feud, and maybe they'll have a rematch at Hell in a Cell.
I just hope that The Miz doesn't win the U.S. title again and has another title around his waist right now.
I know. I'm in that same boat.
Well, at least Miz can say he's if this keeps happening, he could be a 200-time champion in WWE.
He must be doing something right, or somebody in the office likes him enough to give him all these title runs.
Or he's sucking up to some of them in the office, like they did in the 90s or something. So some might do that. No, I'm just joking. That Miz is a good wrestler and he deserves his spots. And I just hope it would just be a kind of a drag to see him win the U.S. title again, because he's already had a title already. That's like less than a month ago. Exactly.
I mean, he was Intercontinental Champion just recently. Even though it was for a day, he was still, champion. And he's been in the main event so many times. Time to give somebody else a shot.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of main eventers, up next we had The Big Show. And we know he's still locked in his feud with Rusev, who still has yet to be pinned or made to submit. Big Show came down, talked about having the responsibility of all the Americans on his shoulders when he's fighting Rusev. He's representing America. And then he calls out Mark Henry and asks him to, as man-to-man, as a brother from another mother, to let him handle Rusev on his own. Because if you remember on Raw, Big Show was in a match with Rusev. Mark Henry came down and attacked Rusev, getting Big Show disqualified. So I guess Big Show wants to go at it alone, just like Mark Henry wanted to. Where do you see this feud going here with Rusev and Big Show?
Well, you think of it this way. If Rusev gets over on the Big Show, imagine the amount of heat Rusev is going to get. But think of it this way, too. The Big Show is the biggest competitor in the WWE. With Rusev defeating the Big Show, where does he go from here? He's not in a title picture. So we're probably going to see Big Show go over, because there has to be a stop to something. They won't figure out anything to do with Rusev if he beats the Big Show, because they're not going to put him in a title picture yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I still think Jack Swagger should have been the one to defeat Rusev because of, the whole pro-America, patriot, real American gimmick. It's that one faltered, and what other real American, no pun intended, could defeat Rusev? It's like, where do you go from here? Once Rusev defeats Big Show, if he does, at Hell in a Cell, because that will be their rematch. If he defeats him there, then what? I mean, I guess the only thing after defeating the biggest guy in the company is going for a title.
I guess so. Maybe he could go for a title. I just kind of figure out how they would just put him in the picture, you know what I mean?
Well, easy. You have Sheamus retain, and then he's the United States champion.
Oh, then he attacks, because it's U.S. versus Russia. Good point.
Even though Sheamus is Irish, he does hold the U.S. title, and with Rusev and Lana talking so much about the U.S., I mean, there you go.
It's going to be happening. You've hit the nail right on the head there. That's what's going to happen. That's my prediction. Rusev is going to get so much heat because he's going to become the U.S. champion.
I mean, the storyline writes itself right there.
You better watch out walking to his car, though, after the show. If he wins the U.S. title, oh my God, people will kill him.
Ugh. There'll be riots.
There'll be riots. It'll freak out. They're probably going to be going to, like, Obama's office and saying, oh no, Rusev's the new U.S. champion. I don't think people are going to go that far, but I'm just joking around.
You know, I got a bad feeling, bad prediction, and I hope that WWE does not take this idea from my head, but do you think they're waiting until they're in the Washington, D.C. area for that to happen?
Oh, that would be kind of cool, because the amount of people would boo him.
Yeah, that would be tons of heat right there.
Tons. They'll be like, this will probably be on CBS News or CTV. Well, you don't have CTV in the U.S., but whatever news station. There'll be like riots. I'm just joking. I'm just overreacting. But no,
Vladimir Putin would rejoice.
Putin probably. Then Putin could be their manager. You could have a second manager. Probably maybe the only wrestler in history with two managers, Putin and Lana. Do you think Putin would ever work for WWE and do an event for them?
I highly doubt it.
That would be awesome. Putin would go over. Then what would happen is he would go as a babyface and just start like clotheslining all the Russian guys, and then he would be on the U.S. side holding their hand.
Now you just having way too much high hopes there.
I'm just having too much high hopes there. And maybe I'll create it on the new WWE 2K15 video game coming out, and I can have my Vladimir Putin fantasy on there.
Hey, there you go. Perfect way to set up that booking fantasy.
For sure. Then I'll send it to his office, and then he'll retweet it on Twitter. Maybe, you never know.
Maybe. Yeah, so Rusev will be facing Big Show at Hell in a Cell. Speaking of that pay-per-view, there is another new match that has been added, and that's Nikki Bella versus Brie Bella. They finally go one-on-one since SummerSlam, when Nikki turned her back on her twin sister. And there's two stipulations on this match. The first one is loser becomes the winner's bitch. Basically, the loser will become the winner's personal assistant for 1 month.
He knows he's going to go over in this match, right? And fans better prepare now. Nikki Bella's going to go over, I could just tell.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the new stipulation is if the loser does not go through with their duties, they must quit WWE.
Ooh.
So, with that added, makes you wonder,
does Bella want time off?
Yeah, what's in the plans? Like, which Bella is taking more time off? And is it going to be Brie again? Or is Nikki taking some time off? Or is this just a swerve to make us think that someone's not going to go through with it?
It's a good question. That's what WWE is trying to do. They're trying to make you think about this stuff, and they are doing their jobs. I don't see Brie Bella winning this match because, well, I could, but I don't know. What would your prediction be?
Well, the heel would most likely go over because you want the sympathetic face to get the reaction from the crowd and have the crowd on their side. So, I mean, until they get a rematch and then the face goes over. As much as I would want the baby face to win the first match, it never really happens like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyway, on SmackDown, Nikki Bella defeated Naomi in singles match. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 Divas matches on SmackDown. Go figure.
2 Divas matches on SmackDown. Whatever happened to Fandango?
I was wondering that myself, like, not too long ago. And, he's still on the house shows, but WWE has no room for his character on TV.
It seems like the room character is very limited. Their room for characters is very limited.
Well, with not to digress, but with Fandango, I mean, he really lost his steam when the Divas left him, that being Layla and Summer Rae. When he started going solo, there really was no point to his act.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know,
thought.
going back to the Divas, Nikki wins over Naomi with the rack attack, and our producer Killer Kev just put up a joke in the chat saying, "What's the difference between Nikki Bella and WWE? WWE has a ring."
What's it called? The rack? That's kind of inappropriate since there's a woman performing that move.
Well, not necessarily, because
the rack attack. I wish I was in the Rock. Are you kidding me?
Well, the setup to the move is she picks him up in a torture rack position.
Yeah, that's what Nikki Bella does. That's awesome.
It's not because of Nikki's rack, which, you know, is amazing. Just throwing it out there. But, you know, it's a torture rack, but instead of the submission, she just drops down and as a backbreaker.
Man, I should have asked for that to happen on Friday's party. It would have been put in a torture. I'll get killed. Thank goodness. Oh man. Well, I'm probably back to business. I pretty much see Nikki Bella going over in this matchup for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's the only thing that makes sense at this point. I mean, if it was just a regular one-on-one contest, then I would easily say Brie Bella would probably win. But if you're gonna have someone be the other's personal assistant, then, you know, it just screams for the heel to win. For sure. So, before we get to the main event, I want to talk about these Bray Wyatt segments, you know, where he's saying he's letting Luke Harper loose into the world, or he's freeing Eric Rowan, you know, letting him loose as well. And then he has another random video saying that it's coming. What could it be?
Oh man, that's the most common wrestling vignette for overhyped things. Like, I've done that. If you want, like, the Latch of Heartbeat Rita, it's coming. It didn't go over at all, but it was still a good show. But, like, it's coming. Like, he should have chose something else. That's what anyone in wrestling would do. That's what the independent promotions do when they try to tease a big name. It's like, it's coming. They should have used something else, most definitely. This is a different name, that's it. It's coming is the most common thing in wrestling for returns or whatever.
Well, what would you predict it would be, though? Do you have any slightest...
They're coming back? I'm just kidding. No, pretty much, I don't know, but I'm just saying it's coming is really common.
Yeah.
But it's effective, I'll say that. It is effective, and it does, maybe it doesn't mean it's common. If they deliver a strong promo like they did, and then they put it's coming, then it's probably just as effective. So maybe I'm just saying it's a coincidence that most return promos are, it's coming.
Well, there have been predictions that Wyatt will be recruiting the Ascension from NXT.
That'd be cool to see.
I think that would be interesting.
I'm a big Victor fan, so that's cool.
All right, well, we get to the main event of SmackDown, which is Kane versus Dean Ambrose. And this was pretty much back and forth. Ambrose was doing the whole hit and run thing, you know, trying to use his quickness over the big Kane. Kane just, you know, completely dominated him at every turn, threw him out the ring, threw him all over the place. Seth Rollins was at ringside, and eventually he caused a disqualification by pulling Ambrose out the ring and attacking him. And they tried to do a 3-on-1. Kane had a chair. Ambrose took it from him, hit Kane in the back with it, and of course, Seth Rollins escapes yet again.
Oh my, that is crazy stuff. It's just, you know what's crazy about wrestling is that the interference is so predictable.
Yeah, and there's been so many of them. Within the whole Authority storyline, when it comes to Seth Rollins, Kane, or in pretty much every match they've been in, there's been a disqualification.
It's so hilarious. It is funny, though.
Well, this is all setting up to Monday Night Raw, where Triple H and Stephanie, after Monday Night Raw was over, this was announced on WWE Network, but it's also available to see on the .com. John Cena and Dean Ambrose team up again to face Kane and Randy Orton and Seth Rollins in a 3-on-2 handicap street fight.
Oh, is that on WWE.com?
Yeah, it was announced after Raw was over. It was on WWE Network's Backstage Pass. They put it up on .com. They even mentioned it on SmackDown.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, it's going to be a 3-on-2 handicap street fight on Monday Night Raw. And not only that, but the Triple H had promised that the Hell in a Cell itself will be in the arena. And I guess that will be giving Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose a closer look at the structure that they will be entering for the first time next Sunday.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to that on Monday. It should be cool to see for sure.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that as well. It should be a good go-home show for Raw. And, of course, next week will be the go-home show for SmackDown before the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what goes down.
Yeah, so here's hoping that they can get us excited for Hell in a Cell. So that's all for SmackDown and pretty much everything I wanted to mention from this week's episode and for Raw and SmackDown. So is there anything else you want to bring up?
Oh yeah, got a few plugs here, guys. Of course, follow me on Twitter at Jordan J. Garber. Wrestling Road 247 isn't in it that much as it used to be, so you'll see a few interviews up there, but not a lot. But there is that JGW podcast coming soon on AngryMarks.com. I have one with a short interview I did with Jimmy Jacobs on Friday, and then I have an interview on there coming up with NXT star, former NXT star, who just got released 3 months ago, Travis Tyler, so it should be good. Check it out on AngryMarks.com, and it is coming soon.
All right, so I guess that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SmackDown Rundown. Don't forget to check out Angry Marks on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and everything else in between. AngryMarks.com, you have podcast news, recaps, articles, rumors, and AMP TV as well. So don't forget to check that out. Check everything else out. Angry Marks affiliated. We will be continuing with bringing you all the exclusives. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SmackDown Rundown. We'll see you next time.